What's good? I'm Woog, and this series is guaranteed to deepen your appreciation for hip-hop. Jay-Z recently dropped his 13th album, 444, and we'll see how it does commercially. It was supposedly platinum within its first week of release, but after a couple listens, reading some critic and fan reviews, and asking others their thoughts, it's evident that at 47 years old, Jay-Z has managed to pull off something that no one near his age has been able to do in rap music. Create a damn good album that captures the imagination and is connecting with the public, both young and old. So, how did he do it? Well, he has a distinct advantage over just about anyone when it comes to getting people to listen to his music. He's Jay-Z. Drake said on the title track from his 2016 album Views, "My exes made some of my favorite music. I dated women from my favorite movies. Karma's such a thing of beauty." He then followed that with, "I share more of my story, but you wouldn't believe it. It's far-fetched like I threw that shit 100 meters. So how creative do you still need to be if simply sharing your current life is wild enough to capture the imagination?" Jay-Z arguably has the greatest body of work in rap history, album for album. He's married to one of the biggest icons in music history. He's one of the 2 or 3 richest rappers in the world, and one of the 5 or 6 richest musicians in the world, with a higher net worth than names like Mick Jagger, Elton John, Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi. Starting from much more humble beginnings than just about anyone on that Forbes list, growing up in Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, New York, and was a hustler/drug dealer through much of his teenage and young adult years. He supposedly had relations with some of the hottest women in entertainment during the late 90s. He stabbed a rival music executive, shot his own brother, managed to avoid prison, and lived to rap about all of it. Who doesn't want to hear what this guy has to say? But even with all of these built-in advantages, he strategically made this album a compelling event. He blasted cryptic 444 posters up in New York, LA, and Miami. Banner ads started popping up on the internet. A 444 commercial featuring prominent actors was aired during the NBA Finals. So while this wasn't an official album announcement, people began speculating on what 444 was about, and if this was indeed an upcoming Jay-Z album, his first in 4 years. It created hype. Now whether the album was dope or whack wouldn't stop the Beyonce fans from talking about this supposed response to her Lemonade album, which featured songs about his infidelity. On 444, Jay-Z, a notably guarded and private person, shares more about his life than he had in all of his prior albums combined. Sure, 2001's Song Cry was an excellent song about his failed relationships, but the 444 title track gave us way more to connect to, since we actually know the marriage he's referring to. His revelations and openness sent social media in a frenzy. So how did he avoid the pitfalls of being an old rapper? And what about this album itself was interesting? Well, although he did take some jabs at a lot of today's rap and rap culture, he wasn't preachy. In fact, the song Family Feud cleverly traces the strained relationship between different generations of rappers and the resentment that the old school often shows towards the new and vice versa. Also, as an elder statesman, he packages some otherwise solid financial advice in a condescending diss, which is about as hip-hop as it gets. He is, after all, among the most passive-aggressive trash talkers we've witnessed. He's also created closeness and distance by making this both his most personal album and the album where he goes the furthest in emphasizing the gap between his reality and that of all other rappers, then juxtaposes that jump in class with the Story of OJ's song, where he reminds the listener that even with the wealth, accolades, and status, he's still a nigga in society's eyes. He's also somehow avoided having to compete with this current generation of rappers and has fully accepted this elderly advisory role. Now, he's shown signs of this before, like on Izzo from his 2001 classic album The Blueprint, when he said, "Hov sold crack, so hopefully y'all wouldn't have to go through that." And even 5 years prior to that, he said, "We don't lease, we buy the whole car, as you should," on Can I Live from his 1996 debut album Reasonable Doubt, a piece of advice he later retracted since car values do depreciate. Regardless, a lot of rappers do drop socially conscious lyrics. Fewer drop financially conscious lyrics. Also, a lot of older rappers lose the charisma in their vocal delivery and start sounding boring, slowed down, predictable. Jay, on the other hand, still shows versatility and takes some chances, even if you take tracks 2 and 3. On 2, The Story of OJ, he has a slow, conversational way of phrasing his lines, with long pauses in between to maximize the impact of each line, whereas track 3, Smile, features a faster, agile flow, with rhymes within a single line, reminiscent of what he showcased in his early years, where he has moments of coloring outside the lines, hopping off the beat for a second to quicken his flow before getting back on track. He still has a lot of pep in his step, not to mention the clever things that he's actually saying in these verses. It's one thing to showcase an acrobatic flow, but it's another thing to do it using smart, thought-provoking words that might require several listens, allowing the listener to discover new meanings and hidden messages that they previously overlooked. Bottom line, old rappers usually aren't up to this tall task, and even if they are no longer operating on a platform where millions of listeners care to hear it. On 444, Jay-Z, at 47 years old, truly defies the odds. So let me know your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in.